there, friends. It's Carly, and welcome to your week. I am so glad to be with you. I have one key message for you this week, and that is to hopefully carve out some time to nurture yourself, coming off of the heels of this Scorpio full moon lunar eclipse. This is the close of this eclipse cycle that we've been in, and the culmination of what has been coming through. And now this energy will continue to play out and unfold and unpack itself over the next couple weeks to couple months. And through the things that are being revealed to us, we get to further set down the old patterns that are no longer serving us, and we get to step more purposefully into the Sun in Taurus and Taurus North Node end, where we know our own power and are grounded in our own being, knowing that well-being is the dominant order of this universe, and that all we have to do to find peace is allow it for ourselves. And that is easier said than done. When we have tidal waves of fear and regret and all kinds of negative things that may be moving through us after the Scorpio full moon, things that we can now see lit up more brightly than ever before, we understand them better than ever before. That also allows for the healing of understanding and integrating what was the reason that we had to go through the things that we did go through, so that we could learn the lessons that we got along the way. And it's okay to be grateful for the lessons and also grieve the reality that you had to go through to get those lessons. So if possible, this week, please take some time and turn inward. In my tarot cards, just pulling them for myself, I just keep pulling the Hermit card and the Hanged Man. That's in this week's spread. The Hanged Man is where it's like, plus there's a transit this week for Mars conjunct Neptune here in a couple days. Check the description box for the full list of all of the key transits this week. But that too is adding this layer of there's some healing work to be done first before we're ready to charge forward. Like Mars is entering Aries here very soon. It'll be done with its transit through Pisces, but not just yet. Before it's done, it has to conjunct Neptune, and that is essentially the undoing of our focused action. Mars being the focused action and the undoing being Neptune. So a very foggy sense of our beingness during that time. And I imagine that it may feel like an even further unraveling, that the Scorpio full moon brought something to the surface for us to be able to see. And this Mars-Neptune conjunction, this Mars, our body, our spirit, our warrior spirit, conjuncting with Neptune, the not necessarily the barrier, but the zone between the conscious and the unconscious, the physical and the spiritual. So to bring these two together, it feels almost like the visual that I'm getting is like a baptism, like dunking yourself in the healing waters of letting your entire self just come apart. Let the old go. We also, in the backdrop of all of this, have Pluto retrograde going on. This is the final Pluto retrograde, I believe, before Pluto will move into Aquarius early 2023, I think March, but I'm not 100% sure in this moment. And so this is like that last hurrah of Pluto and Capricorn, breaking down the old structures. Remember, Pluto is here to clear out any of the earthly structures, Capricorn, that are not built on solid foundations, aka the systems and structures that are not sustainable for the long term. This Pluto retrograde, this is the last one that is dismantling any of those things that simply are not built to last into the future. So whether that's within yourself, yourself and the way you have constructed your life around you, or even on a more global collective scale, we'll continue to see our larger systems come into the spotlight in these ways. And one of the main structures that is going through this overhaul is within each of us, the story that we tell, the narrative that we use to relate to our life and our experience. So that is one of the things that I'm seeing in my own experience as this kind of common thread between all of these different manifestations that have been happening these last couple weeks leading up to the full moon, is I am having memories and connections from my childhood are coming back to me and weaving themselves together to help me see how the story that I have been telling about my life and my childhood is maybe true, but truth is way bigger than just the version that I've chosen to focus in on. One example that came up last night was around my brothers and how in my story or in my memories of my childhood, I a lot focus on the resentment, a little bit of resentment, little seeds of resentment that I have towards my brothers just for being so close in age and feeling like they took the attention from my mom so that I didn't get it, they did. And having this viewpoint on growing up with them, that was kind of the primary narrative that I had wrapped around that. And last night, it really came into focus how that's just not the whole picture, and yet that has been the whole story as I've been telling it for almost 34 years now. So it's very, very interesting that is part of the structure that's changing, and that my perspective is what's shifting. And it's like the physical reality and the physical structures in the reality are going to shift as a result of this perspective change. It also doesn't feel accidental that right on the heels of this Scorpio full moon, we have the sun entering Gemini on the 21st. And on the day that the sun enters Gemini, Mercury has also retrograded back to 0 degrees of Gemini. So basically they'll meet there at 0 Gemini, and then they will continue on in their opposite directions. Mercury back to Taurus, Gemini, the sun on through Gemini. And honestly, I think this is going to feel like a relief. A big one. So that's on the 21st. So by this weekend, I expect for the intensity of the emotion to come down a lot when the sun breaks its sign and moves on into Gemini. Gemini is a very youthful, masculine energy. It is emotionally detached. It is very objective and observant. And that detached point of view is one of Gemini's superpowers. So if you're a solar Gemini, definitely be checking your experience as far as like that detached point of view can get you called flaky sometimes or non-committal or something like that. But it can also allow you to see things from lots of different perspectives and to consider new possibilities that other people may not have thought of, just because you're generally thinking not necessarily outside the box, but in between the dots. There's lots of space inside a Gemini's thought process where new thoughts can occur and pop up in between the empty spaces. So as the sun enters Gemini and we are freshly aware of what are the fears that we're carrying, what is the version of the story that we're telling, and is it as big picture as it could be. With the sun in Gemini, the earth falls in Sagittarius. The earth is typically not shown on a natal chart, but that's just how that works as far as like the earth is always opposite the sun in the chart. So with sun in Gemini, earth in Sagittarius, that is as big picture a viewpoint as you can possibly get. And with the sun in Gemini, again, a very emotionally detached, allowing the big picture to come in and be seen exactly as it is without judgment. And from there, once you've taken in all the information, it gets a lot easier to basically rebuild the truth. So you're still telling the truth. You're still telling a version of the truth, but a wider version that lets you feel better in the process. Like my story with my brothers, realizing that actually growing up with 3 kids my age made for a really fun childhood. There was always someone to play with. There was always someone to go swimming with in the summertime. On the bus ride home, like it wasn't just me at the end of the route, like all 4 of us got dropped off last. So front door's closing. There are lots of things where it was really fun to have them around, and one of the side effects was, yes, that my parents had less attention to give to each one of us individually because there were more of us, but because there were more of us, it was more interesting. It was more fun. There were more laughs. There was more interaction and different viewpoints and different people to ping off of and like have inside jokes with. So these are things that up until last night, when I talk about my brothers and my childhood, I don't often include these pieces. And it feels really good to be expanding my story and rebuilding my narrative into something that feels better when I tell it. I know this is a short one this week. I am taking my own advice and honoring the fact that I am very much in the height of a rest cycle. So I am going to do some TLC on my spirit. That is very much where I'm at, and I hope you do the same.